When children come to the school canteen and children are playing hard.
Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, or evening or morning, uh, depending on where you're joining us from. This is Charlotte. I just want to, am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Good
Thank you.
afternoon, Carlos.
You
Hi.
are.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I just want us to give like 5 more minutes for people to join, and then we'll just start at 10. Anyone else will find us continuing. So kindly let's accord them 5 minutes and then we'll start. Thank you. Okay. Greetings once more. I just want to welcome you to the meeting. Thank you so much for making time to attend this touch point. So glad to have you on board. And so before we even go to the into today's lesson, I'd like us to have a round of recap where everyone is going to say how their time away from like everyone else has been, and then also one thing that you took out from last week or the previous session, which was on fuel your resilience. So I think I can do a bit of like just general recap on what was there, and then everyone else will say one thing that they took or one thing that really challenged them in that session. So that previous session, Fuel Your Resilience, to ignite strength and embrace challenges, focused on building resilience as a leader in your advocacy work. And there was discussions around covering personal experiences, challenges that we had faced, like in this advocacy work, and also strategies for maintaining motivation, as well as well-being, even despite the challenges and everything. So there are also a few self-assessments that we did, exercises that we did, just to gauge whether where your resilience is as a leader in advocacy. And we are also taught, like we're also given some strategies that we could use so as to build ourselves to get to the top level, including overcoming resistance while advocating for, community-led organizations and everything. So yeah, it emphasized the importance of continuous learning and development so that you stay, first of all, you stay relevant, and then also just to be able to balance the equations and evaluations of work and your personal life. So that was the general overview. I think now we can go into the personal takeouts, like what each and everyone took out from the previous session. And I'll go as per my list. And the first we'll have Albertina. Albertina, if you're able to unmute and give us what you took out from the previous session.
Thank you so much, Lawyer. Okay, for me, what I took up from the previous session was that it is important to, while working, it is important to also take care of yourself and ensure that you take care of your well-being. Like the example of the strategies and the things that you can do, which gave us the ideas that while relaxing, we need to ensure that we don't always work. I think there are examples like sometimes you need to leave your laptop and maybe go out and relax. And then we were given strategies on how to ensure that we relax. I think that was what I took.
Thank you so much, Albertina. That was very key in the previous session, that in as much as you work and you're very passionate about your work, there are challenges that are going to arise from it, and you need to take care of your well-being, not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally. You need to be in the right headspace so that everything else works out for your good. Thank you so much, Albertina. Next, we'll have Binta. Binta, are you there?
Oh, yes, sorry. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, you can hear me loud and clear. So, I think one of the major things I took from last session was to have, just like Albertina said, we should also have care for ourselves. We shouldn't do work always. And another one was for us to have emergency contact lists for our souls, where we get a cheerleader, the person that cheers you always, even though you are wrong. We have the fun friend, where we have a mentor, an helper, and other, just the major emergency contact list for your soul. That was my major takeaway from last session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Binta. That is true, man. You need to have people that you can fall back to that are able to, not only be there for you when things are getting crazy, but also who are able to set you accountable to things that you're supposed to do. There are people who are also supposed to, like, who are able to give you genuine feedback, and you should also take that feedback. Yeah. So have a community, sorry, of people that you're able to fall back to when things get crazy or you need some feedback. So thank you, Binta. Next, we'll have Loveth.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
What really stood out for me last session was the meaning of resilience. I learned that resilience means bouncing back with wisdom and grace. And I learned also that it's just like an activist. It gets stronger after each campaign. And I also learned that is the ability to recover and learn and grow from the challenges. Each challenge makes you stronger and makes you to grow more. And I also learned that as an advocate, you need to stay hopeful during any setback and also find creative solutions to work on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loveth. That is also true. You are taught on building resilience, that in as much as frustration and burnout are normal, it is important to practice self-compassion, and channel that anger into action so that you bounce back into a stronger person and a more wiser person. So, just the various pillars that we were taught about building resilience, your mental strength, your positive thinking, maintain that. Like, don't let other voices outside outside your why come and ruin or influence what you're doing. So maintain positive thinking, your problem solving skills, physical wellness, all those things that are needed to, build your resilience so that you become an advocacy champion in what you're trying to advocate for. Thank you so much, Loveth. Next, we'll have Charity. Charity, are you there?
Yes, hello everyone.
Hi.
It's really a good afternoon. Yeah, I'm sorry last time I was not on, I sent in my apologies.
Mhm.
Yeah, but thank you so much. We are here again to learn new things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charity. We missed you last week, but I hope from everyone's takeouts you'll be able to at least be afloat.
But also,
Yeah.
I was waiting.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm still talking. I was waiting for a recording of which
Mm.
I didn't get. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
I recorded last
That,
time session.
yeah. So, for the recordings, they're being worked on actually, and I think by latest early next week, you guys will have all the recordings that we've done before from the flow of things. So just make sure that you are enrolled to their website, to the page, and you'll receive everything, and I'll communicate more about it. So don't worry, you'll be caught up to speed. Sorry about that.
Thank
You're welcome. Next we'll have Ntabeleng.
Hi everyone. I'm also sorry that last time I wasn't part of the meeting and I've been waiting for the recording. But from my sisters who have spoken before, I'm learning that I'm learning so much, and I've picked that you have to use your anger. You have to put your anger into action so that it produces positive results. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you as well. We're glad to have you in this week, and we look forward to a very interactive session together. Then we'll have Rabia.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I also I wasn't around for the last session, and I communicated this, but it's really appreciated for our fellow leaders for this feedback which they are providing. And it's my pleasure to be into this session today, which I think a lot will be learned. But from the comment or the things which you asked, I think that because your leadership, being a leader, it's not all about a position. It's a choice, and for us being an advocate for TB, for HIV, and for gender and other issues, we chose to do so, and from the thought, from the thinking which we had. So this is the capability, this is the empowerment, and I think there is need to like strengthen it so that we can do more and more without any fear. So I just wanted to add that, and I apologize for not being around for the previous session, but looking forward for a positive contribution for today's session. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rabia. Don't worry about missing last week. You guys will actually get the recordings. We are working on it just this week. By early next week, the recordings will be there. So as Rabia has said, we made a choice, to be advocates, to advocate for gender, for TB, for HIV, or whatever, malaria, whatever sphere that you are advocating for. It was a choice. It is a passion. So we definitely have to keep being there. And yeah, not let anyone shake the foundation of your why, because your personal story is why you are actually an advocate for that particular thing. You're a leader for a particular reason. So don't let anyone else try to shake it out. But even then, there will still be people who will judge. There will still be people who will try and put you down. So you need a community, like a base of people where you can actually be able to debunk about some things, be able to go and reason out some things, share some, build your resilience in as much as you try to build yourself and try to, amplify your voice about the advocacy that you're doing. So thank you so much. I think that is everyone. Oh, Annabelle just joined. Hi, Annabelle. Oh, we didn't hear you. Okay, I think.
Good afternoon.
Good
Yes,
afternoon. How are you?
I was not with my phone, so I just saw the link quickly, so I had to join immediately when I saw the link.
We are glad to have you.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I see Aura. Aura, you've also joined. Hi.
Hi, Shilliot.
Oh my God, your voice is still gone.
When I don't chat.
I apologize. We'll wait for your chat. So as Aura lets us know what she took out from the previous session, I will invite Kevin to say a word before we proceed. Kevin.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Welcome. We can hear you.
Greetings
Yeah.
to the court members and to the TB Women colleagues. It's a pleasure to join in once again for this session. I'm also apologizing. The last session I missed. I know it was a very important one, but this is also a very important one that we are joining in today. I know we've had valuable discussions all over through the year, and I'm definitely encouraged by this amazing team, amazing colleagues, and the amazing energy you guys are committing to this Leadership Academy, and also to your work in the various countries and communities you're serving. So as Charlotte has highlighted our last session about resilience, I'm deeply encouraged because I know all of us are advancing the fight against TB, malaria, and HIV, and also inspiring our communities. But again, I know today, as per the topic that I saw there, it's enriching your mindset, growing, thriving, and transforming. And I'm really excited that we are going to embrace growth in this part of the session and also in our work. So I'm looking forward to learning as well and also getting insights from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for the insights. We missed you last week, but we're glad that you are able to join us this week. And I see our facilitator has joined us. So I think I'll just give up, the space to her so that she takes us through this session. Welcome, Maureen.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great day and a great end of the week. So I had a nice week. It was quite busy. It's a busy season, you know. This time of the year is usually really, really busy. So I thank you for sparing time to join this call. I'm sure you'll not regret it because what you learn from here is very valuable. So we have finished a series of discovering ourselves. And so now we are in the next phase. And today we are going to talk about enriching our mindset. You see, when someone talks about enriching the mindset, you wonder if you wonder what that means. Things to do with mindset are usually very sensitive topics because, I mean, you can ask, who told you my mind is not rich? But what we know here is that there is always room for learning, and we are transforming leadership through inclusive thinking. So when we are reaching our mind, we want not to work as ourselves, because we are in the part where we are talking about inclusive leadership. The other one was about identifying ourselves as leaders, what characters we are, who we are, why we think we are leaders, why are we good leaders, why are we bad leaders. But today we are going to talk about including others in the leadership. So it is an inclusive leadership process where we want to enrich our mind to be inclusive of the people around us. So by the end of this session, we want to define what inclusive leadership is and what are the core components of inclusive leadership. We want to identify key mindset shifts required for inclusive leadership. Remember, we've now finished identifying who we are, and we are bringing people into our space as leaders. So what are the mindset shifts that we need to have to bring others on board? And then we are going to apply the 6 pillars of the inclusive leadership mindset. We are going to discuss some strategies to overcome mental barriers and also create an action plan for personal growth. So I want us to take a moment and consider. Think of the best leader you've worked with, or you've been around, or you were with in college. What made them exceptional? I know we've had leaders. Some of them are our presidents, some of them are high school prefects, and and leaders, and some of them are in the family. But there's this one outstanding leader that you say, every time you say, in terms of leadership, that one is top notch. So share it with us on chat. 3 to 4 qualities that come to mind when you think of that leader. I'll give us a minute to share on chat. Nani chukuanga hizo screenshots za sessions. Okay, Millicent, I can see Wangari Maathai. She was resilient, tough, and brave. Hey, it's only one person who's written. Charlotte just remembers that that leader was compassionate, true to themselves, and nurturing in terms of being growth oriented. Binta is remembering an encouraging, good teacher and compassionate. And then Lovett remembers Maya Joel, who I know very well. He carries everyone along. He builds one's resilience and allows one to develop him or herself. Thank you, Lovett. Sorry for joining. Oh, sorry. Deborah, welcome. And then Charity, clear communication, respect for others, positive and encouraging. Yeah, so you see, everything we have remembered about the leaders we have talked about was something positive, was something exceptional. And what I have learned from your comments, that it wasn't just about themselves. It was what they are doing to others, how they are bringing others along. So now let's define what is inclusive leadership. So inclusive leadership is the ability to lead diverse teams effectively by creating an environment where all individuals feel valued, respected, and able to contribute their best work. So when we talked about the leaders we talked about in the previous slide, most of the people were talking about people who included them, people who cared about each other, the people who were compassionate, the people that brought others along. So that is exactly what inclusive leadership is. So the key characteristics of inclusive leadership, it is about creating psychological safety. There are places you go to work and you come back very stressed. You are extremely stressed. And when you think about going to work, you feel like, not again. When you think about the people you are working with, you just look at them like, you call them these dogs or these demons, because it is so stressful, a working environment. But inclusive leadership talks about creating psychological safety. Then inclusive leadership also values diverse perspectives. As a leader, not everyone will think the way you think. There are people who will come with diverse opinions. There are people who will come with things that you didn't think are very important. And so as a leader who is inclusive, you need to value that people will come with diverse. There's a time we were talking about the thinking caps. I don't know if I did it with you or if you remember. And everyone thought that the person with the black thinking cap is usually the joy killer. But we need everyone. We need the joy killer. We need the fun of the party. We need the party pooper. Everyone is important because people are diverse. And for you to include everyone, you should accept even people who have a different mindset as yours. And then inclusive leadership also builds equitable opportunities. You look at your team and you want to give each person an opportunity. And then it also fosters genuine belonging. It makes people feel part of your team genuinely without pretending. There are people who feel part of your team because they're expecting a salary at the end of the month. They really don't like you. They really don't want to be there. Actually, your team is the last place they want to be. But if you are inclusive, then it fosters genuine belonging. And then inclusive leadership also drives innovation through diversity. People bring in their diverse thoughts, their diverse feelings, and their diverse, what are they called? Interventions that makes it very innovative, because it's not only one line of thinking. Now you have diverse lines of thinking and decision making. So the current reality in the research finding, it shows that 1 in 3 employees feel fully included at work. So there are people like 1 in every 3. So how many are we here? We are 15. So it's only 5 people in this group that feel fully included at work. I don't mean they're hated, but it's kind of they're excluded. And then 76% of employees says inclusive leadership impacts engagement. And when we describe inclusive leadership, you understand what I mean. If you feel excluded, chances that you'll engage meaningfully are very slim. But if you feel included, you are able to engage meaningfully. Teams with inclusive leaders, 67% more likely to solve problems. And then organization with inclusive cultures are 2.3 times more likely to be high performing. So inclusive leadership is a win-win for all. But is that the reality? Nope. If 1 in every 3 employees do not feel, I mean, 2 out of 3 employees do not feel fully included at work, then it means that we have a lot of exclusion. So what do you think prevents leaders from being truly inclusive? Again, let's go back to chat. Please type, why do you think some leaders find it difficult to be inclusive or to include everyone and accommodate everyone? So I'll give us 1 minute again to type on chat, 2 minutes actually.
Yes, I see Charity saying that it's on lack of inclusive skills and training. Please share more. Millicent is also saying that what preventing more leaders from being truly inclusive is some fear competition from their teams. Love it. Thank you so much. She's saying that others avoid being betrayed. Yeah, and Tabeleng is telling us that they're afraid that some people will bring ideas that are brighter than theirs. They avoid competitive ideas. Or selling lack of communication. Rabbi is telling us that fear of circulation of some key information for organization benefits, not trusting the person, and competition. Obede is saying bias without actually knowing they might not necessarily be intention. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, Kaimana is saying that she agrees with Millicent, fear of competition from team members. Thank you so much, Kaimana. Albertina is saying sometimes you know that some of the people will bring toxicity. Thank you, Albertina. Keep them coming.
So the comments, I have seen them. So lack of inclusive skills and training to avoid being betrayed. Yeah. They are afraid that some people will bring ideas that are brighter than theirs, lack of communication, fear of circulation of some key information for organization benefit, not trusting the person, competition. That's from Rabia. Kevin says, bias without actually knowing, they might not necessarily be intentional. And then some fear competition from their teams. And then there's an agreement there. Then Albertina says, sometimes you know that some of the people will bring toxicity, overlooking the strengths and weaknesses of their subordinates to know where to best leverage their position, their passions. Some people are not for the team and always bring negative energy. A time factor, since engaging so many people might take time. As a leader, I would go for a few people to save time. Aha. So we've gotten the reason. So ideally, people could exclude for many reasons, just like you have said. Let's talk about mindset foundations, because today we were talking about mindset, and we first of all started this enriching your mindset came from understanding inclusive leadership. So we are enriching our mindset to be more inclusive at the workplace or at the teams we are leading and everywhere. So these mindset foundations, there are people with fixed mindset, and these people are usually very difficult to change. And then we are looking for growth mindset leaders. So we are moving from having fixed mindset leaders to growth mindset leaders. That is part of enriching our mindset. So with fixed mindset, you say you look at people, they either have it or they don't. You know, like this person is either we always say they are they are able to do the job or they don't. They have the skills or they don't. You know, I tried that person. I gave them work to do and they didn't do it, or they did it very badly. So I can't give them work again. But if you have a growth mindset, you understand that everyone can develop and contribute. So in as much as they don't have enough knowledge, if the fixed mind leaders will leave you out because you don't have enough knowledge, but the growth mindset leader will accommodate you. They'll say everyone can develop skills and contribute. And then the leader with a fixed mindset will avoid challenging feedback. They don't want feedback that is challenging them. But a leader with a growth mindset will seek challenging feedback. They want feedback that can help them become their better selves. And then a leader with a fixed mindset focuses on being right. Oh, I am right. And then with the growth mindset, you will focus on learning and understanding. With a fixed mindset, you'll see differences as problems to solve. Like when you're having a meeting or you're having a discussion and there's a difference in opinion, you think, oh, we have a problem here, we need to solve this problem. But if you have a growth mindset, you'll see differences as assets to leverage. If you have a fixed mindset, you lead from a place of certainty. You're certain this is where I want to go. This is my goal. I want to reach here. This is how I'm leading this group. But if you have a growth mindset, you lead from a place of curiosity. You want to know more. You want to bring people on board that will expand the knowledge of the institution. So, and then we have also the inclusive mindset shift. We've now learned that for us to change our mindset, some of us are fixated at the fixed mindset. We need to move towards growth mindset leader, becoming a growth mindset leader rather than a fixed mindset leader. And then there's also the inclusive mindset shift. A traditional leadership mindset, we move from the traditional leadership mindset to the inclusive leadership mindset. So for a traditional mindset, leadership mindset, there's uniformity. Everyone thinks the same. Or they say, oh, we are going east, and everyone packs their bags to go east. oh, I think we need to do, the color of the organization is red and black. And then nobody asks why red and black. Oh, it's that one. We've said we finished. It's uniform. Everything is done in the way the leader wants, and everyone thinks through the same line of thinking, and everything is done the same way every day, every year. But in an inclusive leadership mindset, we have diversity of thought. Ideas are challenged. People bring in new things. Not everybody agrees with everything we say. And then traditional leadership mindset thrives in comfort zone, where the leadership style is not challenged, their ideas are not challenged, everything they say goes smoothly, they're the leaders, they're the bosses. But an inclusive leader thrives, the mindset is a learning zone. They want new ideas, they want those challenges, they want to be corrected, they want honest feedback, and they accept honest feedback. Though sometimes it's usually very difficult, but when it borders criticism. But yeah, they are ready to get new ideas and thoughts and to improve themselves. The traditional leadership mindset, the leader is always right. Inclusive leadership, the leader is curious. They want to know more. They don't think they know everything. They don't think they've got it all. The traditional leadership is about single perspective. Inclusive leadership is about multiple viewpoints. The traditional looks at it from a single perspective. Oh, it is World AIDS Day. We need to make a banner, and then we go to the place where people are doing, and then we share our experiences, and But multiple viewpoints. Others would say, we've made banners for 10 years. There is no change. How about this time we do it differently? Why can't we do a street caravan? That's more interesting, that's more exciting. Maybe it gels well with Gen Zs and stuff like that. So again, multiple viewpoints. Traditional leadership mindset, they tolerate, people, oh, you did well, thank you. But they rarely celebrate. Inclusive leadership celebrates. Traditional leadership works on compliance. Okay, you did this, or you're compliant with the workplace. Thank you. But inclusive leadership, they give genuine commitment. They don't just come to tick a box. They're committed to the cause. So if you're working maybe in a TB program and you want to reduce new TB infections, you want to do the right thing so that you get results. But if you're a traditional leader, you will just want to tick the box. Oh, I was supposed to do 3 outreaches. Whether the outreaches got something or they did not have any impact, you did the 3, you've ticked a box, you're fine. Or your target was to find missing people with TB, 100 of them, and link them to services. So whether they're continuing or not, you've ticked a box, you're moving on. That is traditional leadership mindset. But inclusive leadership, they'll be genuine and committed to the work. Or they will follow up. They will ensure, they will find out why these people are missing. They will try and address those barriers. So the big question that I want you to have in your mind is, how can I create space for perspectives different from my own? It could be at home. It could be in your workplace. It could be with your friends. It could be with your peers. How do you create space for perspectives that are different from your own? So let us go quickly to the 6 pillars of inclusive leadership mindset. So the first pillar is self-awareness, understanding your biases, impact, and cultural lens. You have to be self-aware. What are my biases? Why do I think that people should report to work at 8 and leave at 5? Someone else says, no, don't give me an 8 to 5 job. Give me targets. It doesn't matter when I do my targets, but I'll make sure I finish them on time and meet the deadlines. And then you're like, that's not how we work. So how do you understand your biases? And then in terms of empathy, how do you see situation through others' lived experiences? To empathize is to see the situation through the lens of the other person who is going through that situation. The third pillar is curiosity, asking questions instead of making assumptions. I think, Kevin, in the previous slide, when we were talking about why we think some leaders exclude others, he talked about assumptions. So asking questions instead of making assumptions is another pillar of inclusive leadership mindset. And then courage, speaking up and taking risks for inclusion. There are moments when it takes courage for you to be an inclusive leader, especially if you're working around an environment where everyone doesn't want to be inclusive. And then another one is humility, admitting mistakes and being open to feedback. Humility is usually hard when, sorry. Humility is usually hard, especially when you're getting criticisms from people you feel are your juniors. So admitting mistakes and being open to feedback is something that is very important as a pillar of inclusive leadership mindset. And then adaptability, flexing your style to meet the diverse needs. You adapt the new ideas, the new mindsets that people bring into the table. So we want to go through these in more deeper whatever. So the pillar one around self-awareness is the foundation of inclusive leadership thinking. So the self-awareness, the key components include recognizing unconscious biasness. There are things you do that you don't know you do, but we know you do because we relate with you, we work with you. So if you recognize those things that you do that are you do in your unconscious place, maybe giving up quickly, getting angry at comments, you know, those little biases or that you have that sometimes you don't know you have. So those ones, you have to really search yourself and recognize these are my biases. This is how I think. This is how I relate. This is how I want work done. And it's about how I feel, not what others think. Then understanding your cultural programming. How are you programmed? Some people are programmed that because I am the head of a department or I'm the support group leader, everyone should be listening to me because I have been called a leader. I'm the one, it's my way or the highway. So you have to understand how are you programmed, because you are programmed that way because when you are growing up, the leaders you saw around you, it was either their way or the highway. So everything they said was a gospel, or everything they say was a commandment. So it had to be followed. And then the third thing you need to know about your self-awareness is to know your emotional triggers. What triggers you? What are the things that people do to you that make you really angry? That make you react, and then sometimes you say, oops, I think I overreacted. You should know your emotional triggers. And then you acknowledge your impact on others. So how do you get the self-awareness? You need to ask yourself, what assumptions do I make about people? The assumptions you make about people, you just have, in your mind, you just know so-and-so is rude. This one is not hardworking, they're lazy. This one is you know, you kind of have an assumption about people. So you ask yourself, what assumptions do I make about people? And then you ask yourself, how does my background shape my worldview? Sometimes we behave the way we behave because of experiences we had. You were disappointed at one time, or you were conned, and therefore you have trust issues. Does that shape your worldview? Or you have daddy issues, does that shape your worldview? You have gone through gender-based violence. You have a fear or phobia of probably the opposite sex around you. Does that change your worldview? You need to really search yourself and ask yourself, all these things I went through, how does they shape how I look at the world? Then you ask yourself, when do I feel defensive or uncomfortable? We know the triggers that make you feel uncomfortable or they make you feel defensive. You just want to say, no, 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 it wasn't that way, it was this way. So you ask yourself, when do I feel defensive or uncomfortable? And then the other thing we need to ask is, what feedback have I received about my leadership style? Have you ever asked, or we will share with you some of you, your assessors have done your assessments. We can share you about that feedback. And that will help you start reflecting and getting a self-awareness. And that is the first pillar of inclusive leadership style. Then the second pillar is empathy, understanding different experiences. So around empathy, we have different types of empathy. We have the cognitive empathy, understanding someone's perspective intellectually. So when someone actually comes into the room, like right now, I'm dealing with someone who has been through stuff, and if you look at her from the surface, you realize you think she's stubborn, you think she's too entitled. Sometimes she appears like not trusting. So it's a myriad of emotions, and sometimes it feels very tiring. But again, being inclusive means I have to empathize with this person and try to understand them from their experience. And then there's the emotional empathy, feeling what the other person feels. The other one is about intellectual. This is about emotions. As a leader, you need to feel what a member of your team feels. Are they disappointed? Are they low? Are you able to note that so-and-so is not herself today or himself today? They look a bit low, or they look a bit disturbed. They look a bit, worried. They are sad or they are very happy. You need to really feel what they feel. And then the third pillar is the compassionate empathy. The compassionate empathy is now an actionable, what is it called? It is about acting. When you have compassion, you do something about it. So when you have compassion, you understand someone and take some action. So this is about understanding, feeling, and taking appropriate action. And then finally, around empathy, is what is important is about practice. Listen to understand, not to respond. Most of us, when you're listening to someone, the moment they hit the second sentence, you have an answer. Oh, even before they finish, you're like, oh, yeah. Sorry for interrupting. I understand what you're saying. No, you don't understand. They did not finish giving their part of the story. And that gets a lot of us. I'm actually trying to train myself to listen to understand, because I'm some of the people who can judge you after your first sentence. So listen to understand and not to respond. Most of us listen to respond. You're in a meeting and someone has given a comment. They've not even finished giving their input, and already your hand is up because you want to counter what they have said. So let us listen to, part of empathy is listening to understand and not to respond. One of the rules of practicing that is listen and then take a few seconds before you say anything. Once they have finished, you can do a nudge like, and then you take a 1, 2, count up to 20, so that you really reflect on what they have told you before you respond. Then the third pillar, pillar 3, is around curiosity, or we call it the antidote to assumptions. So instead, if your curiosity kills assumptions, because if you're curious, you'll find out. So you don't just assume. At you see me, they didn't come to work, so I assumed they are lazy. Or they didn't respond to my email, so I assumed, you assumed they read and they ignored. Nowadays, we are able to, sometimes someone can read your WhatsApp message And then they say, oh, this is difficult to reply now. Let me think about it. I'll get back to them. But you can say, oh, they blue ticked me. But I hear nowadays you can set your WhatsApp in a way that someone won't know you've blue ticked them. And the blue ticking is always an assumption. They assume you have read and you didn't care about what you read, and so you moved on to something else. But maybe actually you're thinking about a response you need to give them. Or if it is an assistance they had asked for, you're thinking about how to get it to them. So instead of assuming, just ask. Some of the prompts you can have is, help me understand your perspective. Someone can say something that is different from yours. Don't assume they don't trust you or they look down upon you. Just ask them, help me understand your perspective. Or what am I missing here? Is this what you meant? How does this look from your experience? So you have your own plan here. Someone thinks it's not very good. And then you ask, okay, how does this look from your experience? What would you do differently? Someone is opposing your suggestion. You ask them, instead of saying, no, I've said, you guys go and do it the way I've said. No, just ask them, what would you do differently? And curious leaders ask more questions than they make statements. They seek to understand before being understood. They embrace I don't know as a learning opportunity. Don't judge someone who tells you, I don't know. Do you know how to develop a proposal? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. That doesn't mean that they're incompetent. It just gives you an opportunity to create a learning environment for them. The fourth pillar is courage, taking action for inclusion. So some of the courageous actions I want to talk about is, number one, interrupting bias and exclusion. So, sorry, my thing disappeared again. So just give me a moment to bring it back. Just one moment and I'll bring it back. Nini inalia kutu. Just a minute. Okay, I hope that we have, I'll remove my video so that I can save on the bandwidth. So I hope that we were there. Were we there, Beryl? Was it courage or yes? Oh, it was curiosity, yeah? No, we had finished that one, isn't it? No, we were in the
Next
fourth pillar.
slide, I think. Pillar 4.
Okay. Thank you. So we go to pillar 4. And we are now going to talk about courage. This is also it is taking action for inclusion. So like I said, you have to do courageous actions to be an inclusive leader. Sorry, there's some little background noise. Yeah, so courage is where inclusive leaderships get tested. It is one thing to believe in inclusion intellectually. It is another to speak up when someone makes an exclusionary comment or to advocate for someone who is overlooked. Courage often shows up in small moments, like amplifying someone's idea that was ignored. So you can be in a meeting and then someone makes such an amazing idea and then other people ignore it. So if you are courageous, you'll say, yeah, I like what so and so said. And despite the fact that the people who have ignored could be your seniors. And then courage is also about asking, I think someone else should be part of this conversation. So, or giving development feedback to someone who is different from you. So these moments feel risky because they are risky. But remember, the biggest risk is maintaining a status quo that excludes talent and perspective of people you need in your team or you think are relevant in your team for your team to succeed. So have those difficult conversations. Advocate for underrepresented voices. Taking personal risks for team benefit. Admitting when you're wrong. And that is usually one of the biggest challenge. So remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It is acting despite the fear. The fear is there, but you're saying, despite the fear, I think so and so hasn't been treated well, so I'll speak up for them so that they feel part of the team. The fifth pillar of inclusive leadership is humility, the power of I don't know. So humility might sometimes seem counterintuitive in leadership, but it is actually incredibly powerful for creating inclusion. If you are a leader who knows it all, people feel challenged or they fear participating to their full capacity. So when, as a leader, you admit that you don't know everything, it creates space for those others to contribute. When you acknowledge mistakes, it models that taking risk and learning is valued over being perfect in the organization. So admit mistakes quickly and learn from them. Try and seek feedback, especially from those you lead. Recognize that you don't have all the answers. Share credit generously and ask for help when you need it. So try this week changing the word I know with I'm learning, or try saying I don't know, what do you think? At least once in a few meetings you have with people. Notice how it changes the dynamic of those around you and see how much of the voices will emerge. Humility is particularly important when leading across different people with different cultural perspectives, with different experiences, because it acknowledges that others may have insights that you don't have as their leader. Then pillar 6 is about adaptability. As a leader, you have to meet people where they are, you know, adapt to the level of your team so that they feel like you're in their level and they can engage better. So adaptability is about recognizing that your default leadership style might not work for everyone in your team. If you are direct and fast-paced, but you are leading someone from a culture that values relation building and consensus, you need to adapt your approach. This doesn't mean being fake or compromising your values. It means being thoughtful about how your style lands with different people. For example, some team members may thrive with public recognition, while others prefer private feedback. Some want detailed instructions, while others prefer autonomy. They just want to be told, do this, and they'll do it. Others want you to tell them, do this, but first, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is what you do. They want details. Others just want to be allowed to thrive and do the work. So inclusive leadership includes a mixture of approaches that match individuals' need. So you must understand your team so that you adapt to your conversation or your communication style, your meeting formats, your recognition approaches, your feedback delivery, and your decision-making process differently among your members based on their different needs and preferences. So as an adaptable leader, you should understand that one size doesn't fit all or one size fits none. You should adjust your approach based on individual and cultural needs. And then another common important factor that we should consider is overcoming mental barriers. So these statements may sound reasonable on the surface, but they often mask unconscious resistance to inclusive leadership. Let's unpack one. I treat everyone the same. This sounds fair, but it assumes everyone has the same needs, they have the same backgrounds, they have the same circumstance. True equity sometimes requires treating people differently to achieve similar outcomes. For example, if you have a team member whose first language isn't English, treating them the same way or coming into a meeting where you're speaking difficult English words in a fast-paced way might actually exclude them. They may not be able to engage meaningfully. So inclusive leaders ask questions like, what does this person need to be successful, rather than applying a one-size-fits-all approaches. So you need to ensure that you don't treat everyone the same. If people were all to come in at 8 and you're the team leader and someone comes at 9, find out why they came at 9. Don't just say, well, everyone was to come at 8. I don't care what barriers you had to overcome or the distance you had to cover. We all had to be here. So that that inclusivity is really key, making it person-centered. And then let's now go and discuss the neuroscience of inclusion, how our brains work. Understanding the neuroscience behind inclusion helps us work with our brains rather than against them. So our brains are wired to prefer people who are similar to us. And that was an evolutionary survival mechanism. But today's world is complex. It is diverse. People come from different backgrounds. People have different thinkings. So trying to make people similar to you becomes very frustrating as a leader. The good news is that brains are plastic. We can literally rewire them through intentional practice. So when you consciously expose yourself to different perspectives, you seek out diverse relationship and practice perspective talking, you are creating neural pathways that support inclusive thinking. So it takes intentional effort because you're working against your default brain patterns. Your brain is not wired to to be inclusive. It is wired to like people who think like you, who act like you, who support you. So for you to be inclusive, you have to rewire your brain. And that has to take a deliberate effort. You have to consciously seek diverse perspective. You have to practice mindfulness to slow automatic responses. You have to create new pathways through varied experience. You have to build empathy through story and perspective taking. So you have to be very deliberate around approaching approaching people differently than your brain would automatically tell you to approach them. So psychological safety in the foundation of all inclusive practices. So we need to create psychological safety. And what does that look like? We need to create an environment where people can share ideas without fear of judgment. Are you that person that people come to with ideas, or do people think twice, they bite their nails before they come to talk to you because they know that they can share their ideas and they'll be thrown out like damp? We have to be people who treat mistakes like learning opportunities. Someone made a mistake. They have recognized they made a mistake. You know, when someone makes a mistake and they don't recognize their mistake, they've never come to you to apologize, then you think, maybe not. But this is someone who has made a mistake. They recognize they've made a mistake. They're sorry about a mistake. You need to treat it as a learning opportunity. Be one person who welcomes questions and challenges. Be a person where people can bring their authentic selves to work. You know, there are people when they come to work, they have to reach the door, look at how they are dressed, and start pretending because they want to keep their job, so they keep smiling, but they are burning inside. They're not authentic. They are pretending so that they can fit into your cocoon mindset. So to create such an environment, you can begin by admitting your own mistake and uncertainties. You can tell people, oh, I forgot to come to that meeting. I'm so sorry, I kept all of you. Sorry. So like you admit you really made a mistake as a leader. And then also sometimes when you do some work, or you writing a report, or you can share with your juniors and tell them, hey, I am about to submit this report. Can I get your feedback? And then once they give you a feedback, you act on it, and then you send a thank you note and tell them, thank you so much for providing feedback. That really strengthened my report. It creates, this is your junior, so it creates a really nice working environment, a very inclusive. They feel good when they go home that I actually contributed to something. Then model curiosity about different viewpoints. Keep asking questions. Oh, so that's what's happening. So how can we jump in? How can we benefit from that? How can we benefit from TikTok? Oh, TikTok is the in thing. Yes. So how can our organization benefit from that? Get thoughts and ideas from your team, and then respond positively to questions and challenges. Today I woke up and somehow I got myself into TikTok, and I landed into one of these content creators who is also a brand ambassador. And someone had asked her to she was marketing phones, and someone had asked her from the comment section that, can you buy me a phone? And the response she gave got the whole country talking, like it was very rude and uncalled for. And probably it would cost her work as a brand ambassador of that phone company. But it just needed to take her to respond positively to that question. He would have said, no, sorry, right now I can't buy you a phone, but you come to our shop and we'll give you discounts. But instead, she really insulted the person who had asked for a phone in her timeline. So again, as a leader, some of the questions, and for her, when she was later saying, she said that was a silly question. The person said, oh, it was a silly comment. Why do they want a phone from me? But again, sometimes as leaders, someone asks a question. I know there are no silly questions, but someone asks a question that you're struggling to bother whether they are doing a comedy show or they're really serious about that question. All the same, respond positively to questions and to challenges. Another area is around cultural intelligence, which is becoming very important as workplaces become more globally connected and generationally diverse. But culture isn't just about ethnicity or nationality. It includes generational culture. You know, when I was being trained to join the corporate world, I was told, Maureen, if you walk into a meeting, give a firm handshake to the person who greets you, look at them in the eyes, and smile. Introduce yourself very confidently. Make sure you're pronouncing your words slowly and clearly so that they get your name right. And then I was also told that if someone walks to that meeting and you are already seated and they came to say hi and they were standing up, stand up, level yourself with them, and give them a firm handshake. Another thing I was told is that never enter a meeting without your notebook and pen, so that when points are being given, you have all this beautiful notebook you have opened and a nice pen, and your nails are looking good, and you're taking notes in that meeting, so that the first impression is impressive. But look at the culture now. Oh, my 19-year-old staff will come in a ragged jeans, and apart from coming in a ragged jeans, nowadays the tops, your t-shirts have refused to reach down. Somehow the materials have gone scarce in the world, so they reach somewhere behind, just below your boobs. I don't know, it's called crop top, or yeah, and your high jeans, and you've put on some heels, and you're taking notes from your phone. You're actually using your phone to take the notes. And maybe you're not even typing them out. You've put Otter. So Otter is doing the work as you read through to make sure Otter is writing the right thing. Perfect. Any analog person in the room will be judging you quietly. But again, they are saying that intergenerational culture, industry culture, and more should be accommodated. So we are struggling, but yes, as leaders, we need to accommodate people of different cultures. So when you walk into my room with your ragged jeans and crop top and a phone for a notebook and nails that I'm wondering how you take a bath, I shouldn't be judging. The same way you will not judge me with my maxi dress and my notebook, because we are all cultured differently because of the different times we grew up. So the key insight is that culture shapes how people see the world, communicate, make decisions, and build relationships. So what seemed obvious and natural to me might be completely foreign to someone of a different generation or cultural background. So inclusive leadership develops what we call cultural intelligence, not to stereotype, but to become more aware of how cultural differences can create misunderstandings or missed opportunities. So when you walk into my meeting room like that, I should be able to understand that, well, this is a new generation. And for you as a leader, you need to have what we call the cultural intelligence to understand that I walked in my maxi dress and everyone is typing on phone, and I have this old notebook and a yellow pen. I'm taking my notes. So everyone is looking at me like she now wants to take these notes and later transcribe. After transcribing, she'll type it back, and then she doesn't know we have Otter. But I think you as the leader, you need to ensure that you are accommodating everyone. You are accommodating the Otter note taker. You are accommodating the biro pen note taker. You are accommodating that person who doesn't even take notes. She makes mental notes of everything that is going on, and she can rewrite that meeting back just from what they listened to. So the cultural intelligence, we should have a cultural intelligence drive, get motivated to learn about other cultures. You should just come up to me and ask me, but Auntie Maureen, why do you feel you need to keep writing using your biro pen? Don't you think it's easier if you just let the phone write for you? You know, cultural knowledge, cultural intelligence knowledge is about understanding the cultural values and norms. There are some part of the world where if they serve you food and you eat and finish that food, it is bad manners. You have to leave something small in the plate to show that you are satisfied. Then there are some areas of parts of the world where if they serve you food and you don't finish the whole of it, it is bad manners. They look at it as wastage. So you really have to understand the different cultures and try to, when you're visiting those areas, try to fit in those cultures. That is now what we call cultural intelligence. Planning for cross-cultural interactions. If you're coming to my country, like, how do I plan for us to interact with your different ideas, different feelings, different cultures? If for example you see a Muslim woman in her nice buibui and all wrapped until her head, it is black, and inside you see she has some clothing, but outside she has this black buibui, black headgear, black face gear, and it's a hot day. You can't walk to her and tell her, aren't you feeling hot? You have to accept that that is her culture and adapt to that culture. So culture shapes worldview. Understanding this unlocks inclusion. When you understand that you are dealing with people of different culture, people of different beliefs, it will unlock inclusion because you'll be able to understand, to be accommodative of different people, how they are packaged and how they present themselves. And that will be a key to unlocking inclusion. So like I said, as a leader, you should develop cultural intelligence and not be judgmental or exclusive. So inclusive leadership is not built through big gestures. It is built through consistent micro actions. Micro actions are little actions and that compound over time. So these small behaviors signal to your team whether inclusion is real or just rhetoric. For example, consistently amplifying ideas from a quieter team member sends a powerful message that all voices matter. Asking who else should be in the conversation before making decision demonstrate that you value diverse input. The key is making these behaviors habitual, not just occasional. So on the slide, you can see a list of daily micro actions and weekly commitments. Try and practice this in your day-to-day activities and see how your team will change. Use inclusive language or pronouns. Don't say, I want to write this report. Use the word we. Make it a team thing, not I. A lot of people like using I. The whole team wrote the report and then you submitted and then you come back and say, I submitted the report successful. Thank you, guys. No, say we submitted the report successful. Everyone had their contributions to this report. And then measuring mindset growth. So growth requires measurement, and inclusive leadership growth starts with honest self-assessment. Remember when we were starting, we were talking about self-assessment. These questions are designed to make you a little uncomfortable, and that's the point. If you are completely comfortable with all your answers, you might not be pushing yourself hard enough. Here is what I've learned from from some coaching I had. The most growth-oriented leaders regularly seek feedback on their inclusive leadership from their teams. So look at some of those questions. For example, how comfortable am I with being wrong? How do you feel when you do something and then or say something and then someone tells you, oh, you are wrong? How do you feel? When did I last change my mind about something important? Oh, we need a change of mind. Oh, you need to do this, and then you are refusing to do it, and then people are convincing you, and then you decided, I think not everyone can be wrong, and I'm the only one who is right. Let me change my mind about this. How often do you seek out contradicting viewpoints? You say, this is what I'm planning for this event. What's your viewpoint? And then someone says, I don't think we should do it that way. That's not our style. We don't want that one. How often do you seek for such viewpoints? Do you approach view differences with curiosity or just judgment? The people who are against you, there are people who form a team of team against. They're always wearing black hats. So you say, oh, let's go this way. No, we are not going. We don't have a reason, but we are not going. They're just stubborn. They look stubborn or seem stubborn. How do you approach such instances? Do you judge them? Or do you get more curious and find from them, how do you want us to do it then if you don't want it my way? And then ask yourself, am I creating psychological safety for others? And if you look at and after asking yourself this and trying to practice some of the things we have shared in the previous slides, and you see increased comfort with ambiguity, you become comfortable even to be told you've made a mistake. You have more diverse network of relationships. Your conflict resolution skill is improving. You're able to sit with two people and come to a consensus. Your team is engaged more. People are contributing to your meetings. If you ask people to join your virtual meetings, you get a good number of people joining and participating actively. And there's great innovation from your team. People are bringing in ideas left, right, and center. Then you know that your mindset is growing. That is how you measure mindset growth. So real change comes through consistent practice. So I want to give you a 30-day challenge, and we will share this challenge with you. So week 1, we will do the self-awareness. You will take an unconscious bias assessment and then ask for feedback on your leadership impact. Just, the quick feedback that you get. And then notice when you make assumptions. When people give you feedback, they'll tell you, oh, on that day, you judged me for doing this, or I did this and you didn't, you took it wrongly, And then you realize, I made an assumption. And then on week 2, practice asking questions instead of giving answers. We give instructions. Hey, can you do this and that? Then have listening conversations with team members. Just listen to them talking and giving ideas. You are in a meeting. You call for a meeting and you talk 99% of the time. The only time people talk is when they're introducing themselves or giving that morning feedback on how their departments are doing. Seek to understand before being understood. You're just growing slowly, and then you go to week 3 and you start developing courage and action. When you try to see bias, you interrupt it. You tell people, I don't think you listened to what this person said. You don't understand this person. This is what she's trying or he's trying to tell you. Advocate for an underrepresented perspective. Have a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. I know there are moments as a leader, there are some difficult conversations. Oh, I'm so good at avoiding those difficult conversations. But again, for you to be an inclusive leader, you must have those difficult conversations. And then on the 4th week on integration and planning, reflect on what you've learned. And ask your colleagues or people around you or your family, have you noticed any change with me? And then continue doing this over and over. Because again, like we said, real change happens through consistent practice and not a one-time event. And you, as you look at that plan, notice that each week builds on the previous one. You can't effectively take courageous action without first developing self-awareness and curiosity. So I encourage you to find an accountability partner for this challenge. Maybe just in your office, someone who can check in with you and provide honest feedback on your progress. Change is hard, but it's much easier with support and accountability. So when you want to create your accountability support system, you first must acknowledge that developing inclusive leadership mindset isn't a solo journey. You need support, you need feedback and accountability. So consider finding someone who is different from you as your accountability partner. They likely see blind spots that someone similar to you might miss. So if I find someone who is just like me, all our blind spots won't look like blind spots because they'll not recognize their blind spots. That's why I'm telling you to find someone who is slightly different from you. Then you can do reverse mentoring where you learn from someone younger or from a different background, and that can be particularly powerful, or someone who is junior to you. Also, diversify your learning inputs. If you only read books by authors who look like you or come from similar backgrounds, you're limiting your perspective. Seek out voices of experiences that challenge your thinking. So some of the resources you can get around inclusive leadership, if you Google, you have some podcasts, books, and articles you'll find. There'll be some discussion groups you can meet if you search online. So some of the common pitfalls to avoid that I've seen leaders encounter on the inclusive leadership journey. The biggest one is thinking that inclusion is a HR job or the diversity team's responsibility. The reality is every leader impacts inclusion through daily action. So don't think that, I'm just a staff. I'm nearly the last one, in the chain of command. So I don't need to have all these inclusion things. No. It's not just about your boss that should do inclusivity. Even you, every leader impacts inclusion through daily actions. So even you need to be inclusive or to be deliberate about being inclusive. So inclusion happens in the daily interactions between you and your team members, and that's where the real work gets done. Another pitfall is getting so focused on demographic representation that you forget about experience. People are having, especially the experience people are having once they are in the room. You can have a diverse team that is not inclusive if people don't feel safe to contribute their perspective. So trying to be perfect is also another pitfall. The reality is that inclusive leadership is a journey of continuous learning. So remember, this is a journey, not a destination. You'll make mistake, and that's okay, as long as you learn from your mistakes. So we will share this as a form. Charlotte will share it as a survey monkey. It is just a very short commitment. So based on today's session, you will commit to, you choose 1 to 2 specific actions, just 1 to 2 that you will do, and then you'll share your commitment with us. So if you fill in the survey monkey, it will have your name and then this question, and then you will choose any of those actions that will help you to walk towards a journey of being an inclusive leader. So the key takeaways, if you didn't hear anything, Here is a summary of what we have discussed for the whole hour. And remember these 5 truths. That inclusive leadership starts with a mindset transformation. You must transform your mind to be accommodative to others, to accommodate different cultures, to understand that you're not perfect, you know. And then growth requires discomfort and continuous learning. So when you start allowing people to correct you as a leader, or people who are junior to you to correct you, or even your younger sister, if you allow them, or brother, to correct you, to let you know where you've gone wrong and address those. So it creates some discomfort, and that is what brings about growth. Small daily actions create significant cultural change. So start small. You don't have to do all the things you have mentioned. That is why we will go back to the other slide and tick 1 or 2 actions that we will take. Psychological safety is the foundation of inclusion. Diverse perspectives drive innovation and success. So your challenge is choose one mindset shift to focus on this week. So let's have a discussion. What mindset shift resonates most with you? What would you want to shift in your mindset? What would be your biggest challenge in applying the concepts I talked about? How can we support each other in this journey? What would change in your organization if everyone adopted an inclusive mindset? So what question do you have about implementing these ideas? So you respond to any of the 5 questions. You don't have to answer all of them, and just raise your hands and Beryl will be choosing you to have a conversation. We will do that in a few minutes and then we shall close. Over to you, Beryl.
Hey, yes, thank you so much, Maureen. That was quite interesting and very insightful. So, team, let's okay, let's continue up with this discussion. With this discussion. Yes, out of the 5 that have been given, feel free to raise up your hand. Feel free to unmute if at all nobody is raising their hand.
I'd love to hear from you. I'm particularly interested in hearing what resonated most strongly with you today, and what you think will be your biggest challenge in applying these concepts. Remember, this is a safe space for honest questions and even disagreement. That's how we all learn and grow. So who would like to start us off?
Hello?
Hi, Maureen.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
so thank you so
Oh,
much, Maureen, for this great presentation. And it was indeed a great session. So basically for me, what I took today is that the concept of inclusive leadership, it starts as with the mindset transformation, as you highlighted. So it reminded me of creating an inclusive environment. You can't just create it if at all you don't have that willingness to change and to include people. So whatever you think, whatever the approaches which you approach others, and the willingness of engaging them can change that mind and including others. So it was also a powerful session in a way that these daily planning, weekly planning, let it be monthly planning, whether they are small or big, can create something which is a very big, the one which you called it as a cultural change. So it shows that even if little things, small, small things can make something big to make a difference in shaping a more supportive and inclusive workplace. So I really sincere appreciate you for this session. And I think whatever small which we offer maybe to the colleagues, to the communities, or to the places where we are working, it changes a lot, and it makes it transforms people's life, and we should not stop other than keeping the momentum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabia.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Yes, I'm saying the take homes from the sessions, the session today. I am very excited, and I feel so empowered with the knowledge that I received today, because it took me to a space where I realized that I need to be an inclusive leader. And an inclusive leader is the one that has a growth mindset, that see differences as an asset, but not as competition, like we previously responded in the chat. So you appreciate the multiple viewpoints, and you are able to celebrate others. So I think that was profound for me, because I have been in spaces where you find a leader not able to appreciate the efforts employees are doing, and that's demotivating the efforts of the employees. And one thing that stood out for me is also the issue of self-awareness, because self-awareness in this case, I understood it is realizing your gaps, your shortfalls, so that you work on them. You refine your weaknesses to being a great leader, a great inclusive leader. And the other one is courage, where you need to say your truth despite the circumstances that are forcing you to refrain from saying honest informations or honest inputs. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ntabeleng. Very, very strong points. Well, so guys, time is up. We have completed our time, and we have to respect your time as well. So watch out for the little questionnaire from Charlotte, and then of course you'll find these recordings on the, if you want to listen again to our session, you'll find it in your page. So I'll close in at now, and then let's keep talking on WhatsApp as we prepare for the next session. Thank you guys for staying with us. I really appreciate those of you that don't miss the touch points. It's important for us as well. And we appreciate this growth, because our intention is that one day you'll be a mentor, one day you'll be a coach, you'll have something to tell someone, you'll have something to use when you're mentoring those that are coming after you, because women must conquer this world. So go there and be an inclusive leader. Thank you very much.
Thank
you so
you,
much.
Maureen and Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.